So welcome to our CHDO eligibility workshop, application workshop. I am Ashley Cash, Director of HCD. I'm so happy to see the ones that I can see, and once again, so happy that we've got a really good group of people here, and I'm sure folks will continue to join. I have asked people if you feel comfortable to just put your name in the chat and what organization you're working with. It'll know who may be interested in CHDOs, and just let others on the call know who's around and who's doing work and who's interested in learning about these kinds of things. We are very excited to kick off our CHDO application, Community Development Housing Organization application. For various reasons, funding cuts, etc. The program has not accepted new applicants in just about 20 years, and so we're certainly excited to have a little bit of additional funding to be able to open that pool up and hopefully serve more of the Memphis community and support more organizations that are doing work related to housing. So I'll say this could have happened without our affordable housing department led by Ms. Swarla Guest, who is going to take this show away, her and her team. We'll talk today about program eligibility, requirements, the application, and then of course there'll be time for Q&A at the end. We are asking that everybody stay on mute because it is a big group, so we want to make sure that everyone can hear clearly, and so only the HCD team is presenting, and so they should be the only ones who are unmuted. We ask that you put your questions in the chat, and you can put them in the chat at any time, and the questions will be responded to at the end. But once again, we're asking that you stay on mute, put your questions in the chat, and somebody will read them off and respond to them. I think that is all of my housekeeping and my welcome. I would like to say thank you to Vanessa, who is managing the background of the event. And if you've got anything, certainly put it in the chat if you're having any issues, and Vanessa can assist with that. With that, Swarla, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Director Cash. Good to see everyone. Even if we don't see you, it's still good to see you. Again, welcome, and like Director Cash said, we are so excited because it's been a long time. So of course we're ready and raring to do more work in the city of Memphis. And you will be working with the Nonprofit Housing Office, which is a great group of people. You will hear more from them. That's Tyria Jeff, Tiffany Jackson, James Thornton, and you will hear more from them throughout the presentation. So we will go ahead and get started. Now, throughout the presentation, you will see pictures on the slides, and those are pictures of CHDO projects that we've done with our current CHDOs. So feel free to take a look at those. All right, so next slide, we will get started. Okay, and that's our agenda for this morning. And we will start next with the definition of being a CHDO. Okay, a CHDO is pronounced, some people say CHDO and some people say CHDO. Either way it goes, we're still working on housing. And it's basically a private, nonprofit, community-based service organizations whose primary purpose is to develop and provide safe, quality, affordable housing for the community that it serves. There's a set aside of 15% of the home allocation for CHDO projects and 5% of the home entitlement for CHDO operating costs. Designated CHDOs receive certification from the city of Memphis, indicating that they met certain home program requirements. And this funding can be used for acquisition, rehab, and or new construction of vacant properties for rental, lease purchase, home buyer for low to moderate income families and individuals. Next slide. All right. Now, in order to be a CHDO, first you must have defined geographic boundaries for the CHDO program. We are currently working with 3 active CHDOs, and we've listed those CHDOs here along with their boundaries. That's inclusive of Fraser, CDC, Neighborhood Housing Opportunities Management, in which they are currently working over in the Orange Mound area, and also Promise Development Corporation, and they are working in the North Memphis area. Next slide. All right, so you see this nice picture here. That's actually a picture of an open house that we did in the Raleigh community with Neighborhood Housing Opportunity Management, and they actually built 61 houses over in the Raleigh area. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about expectations, so everybody will know what to expect when it comes to becoming a CHDO. So first, there's a two-tier process, and the first step would be getting your CHDO certification, which is the process we're doing now. Second step would be designated CHDOs will submit an HCD real estate application for your proposed projects. And the real estate application is an open application process, whereas you can apply at any time for funding to do your project. So we want you all, once you get designated, we want you to get ready so we can get some projects done and not just say, I have a designation and just sit on your designation. We're ready to work. Okay, next slide. Okay, while we're getting ready to go to the next slide, I will say that we do work with our CHDOs, and we do various events, like Director Cash said, because of what's going on with the pandemic. We do open houses, we do ribbon cuttings. So those things we are looking forward to do. We're just becoming more creative with them, as you all probably are aware of. Next, we will talk about expectations relative to becoming a CHDO. Every organization will have an assigned senior analyst or HCD analyst. There will be a get acquainted meeting with each assigned CHDO that will be scheduled by your analyst, and there will be constant communication between the CHDO and the assigned analyst. Organized files are mandatory, as we're required to keep our files in order, so we ask that you have your files in order as well. We do have a project checklist that we will pass out to you all as well to make sure that your files are together. Next, we'll talk about monthly reports, which are due every 5th of the month. You will submit those reports to your assigned analyst, and they include information about the status of your CHDO project, community activities or events, your staff changes and what have you. We're also asking that you submit flyers and newsletters to your assigned analyst. That way we see that you're working in the community. And also when we get monitored by HUD, they can also see that you're a very busy community organization. Also, you can either submit board minutes or monthly reports in which your assigned analyst will inform you of which one to submit. But we must have information every month talking about what's going on with your organization. Next slide. All right, we're still talking about expectations here. All right, your Section 3 reports will be due. It has quarterly on here, but that's been changed to monthly to the HCD Compliance Department. And you'll hear a little bit more about that. Leanne Lawrence, HCD Compliance Coordinator, we'll discuss that more in detail later on in the presentation. Now, before any construction work begins or any pay requests are processed, there must be an executed contract between HCD and the CHDO. So that means if you're designated, please don't go out here and start building and say, okay, I'm ready to get my money. We got to do a contract. It's a whole process we have to go through. So make sure that you know who your assigned analyst is so we can work you through that process so we can go ahead and get started. Also, we operate on a reimbursement basis. Therefore, the CHDO would have to have the financial capacity to develop a housing project inclusive of paying your contractor. You will need to include your backup documentation, which will show proof of payment in order to be reimbursed, such as your invoices from your contractor to the CHDO, and also council checks to show your proof of payment was made. And also, Tiffany Jackson will discuss the city's contract process and pay requests more in detail. You see that nice picture to the left? We just had an ribbon cutting ceremony over in North Memphis back in September of last year. And so that was one of the houses that Promise Development Corporation did. Okay, next slide. All right, still talking about expectations. There will be a pre-construction meeting with each project. This meeting will be scheduled by your assigned analyst and attended by the analyst along with the ACD inspector, ACD compliance section 3 coordinator, the CHDO representative, also your selected contractor. Make sure the contractor is also in attendance as well, so they'll be aware of the rules and what we look for when it comes to working on affordable housing project. Inspections and random site visits are conducted throughout the project. In order to submit a project reimbursement request, an inspection must be conducted and approved. And Tyrell Jeff will discuss the project process more in detail later on in the presentation. All right, next slide. And that will conclude expectations. I know you may say that's a lot, but you know what? We're all in this together. So next we will have Tiffany Jackson, who will talk about our HUD home regulations. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On this slide, if you notice, you'll see some regulations cited from time to time. So I will not read those numbers, but they are there for your reference. So HUD home regulations. To qualify as a CHDO, a nonprofit must have paid staff whose experience qualifies them to undertake CHDO set-aside activities. Capacity cannot be demonstrated by the use of a consultant except in the first year that a CHDO becomes certified. Okay. All right. Each time the city commits home funds to the city, each time the city commits home funds, the city must. I'm sorry, Vanessa, could you make this a little larger?
Tiffany, I'm not sure she can make it larger because it's in presentation mode, but if you, at the top, if you do hide everyone where it says like your cameras, hide everyone, then you'll hide the people and the screen might get a little bit bigger.
Okay. All right, here we go. Each time the city commits home funds, the city must certify/recertify a nonprofit's qualifications to be a CHDO and its capacity to own or develop housing. The role of an owner and developer for CHDOs using set-aside funds are more specifically defined. Owner, the CHDO owns the property. Developer, the CHDO constructs and or rebuilds the property. I'm sorry, rehabs the property. Next slide. All right, underwriting and program design. The city must underwrite all home projects to ensure that each project is financially sustainable throughout the affordability period. The underwriting review evaluates cost reasonableness, market demand, developer capacity, and the commitment of other funding sources. Home buyers must receive housing counseling before receiving home assistance, such as purchasing a home assisted unit or down payment assistance. Next slide. Okay. Project commitment. The city may not commit home funds and set up projects in HUD's IDIS or Integrated Disbursement Information System for a new construction or rehabilitation project until I'm sorry. Thank you. until all necessary financing is secured. Must have a commitment letter from lender/funder for the proposed project. HCD does not fund 100% of any project. A budget and production schedule is established. Must have a match amount of at least 12.5% for total project costs from other funding sources. Underwriting and subsidy layering is completed by Nonprofit Housing Office. Construction is expected to begin after contract execution. And Tyria, I believe you pick up here.
All right, we're asking everybody to bear along with us. Y'all know with technology, things happen, but that's okay. We're gonna make sure you all get all the information because we're looking forward to those applications coming in. Okay, if we could scroll to the next slide. Okay, Tyria. Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay, I was trying to get my microphone off. Okay. Timely production and occupancy of assisted housing. Total set-aside funds must be committed to specific projects within 24 months of the city's receiving its home allocation. The CHDO projects cannot be identified at a later date. Projects must be shovel-ready, and that means that you already own the property and/or land in order to build. Home assisted rental units must be occupied by income-eligible households within 18 months of project completion. The home funds must be repaid if not occupied within 18 months of the project completion. If the units remain vacant 6 months following completion, an enhanced marketing plan must be created and submitted to the Nonprofit Housing Office and HUD. A home buyer unit must have a ratified sales contract within 9 months of construction completion, or it must be converted to a home rental unit or repaid in full. It repay the full home investment. James?
Thank you, Tyria. James?
Yes, it's federal funds, so it's a lot of regulations, so we must comply with these. And this one is a really important one. There must be language in your CHDO documentation, if you're certified as a CHDO, that your organization maintain at least 1/3 of its governing board membership for residents of low income community residents, or have official elected representatives who represent low income neighborhood organization. And this must be included in either your bylaws, charter, or articles of incorporation. And you must have a formal process for low income program beneficiary to advise your organization in all this decision regarding the design, siting, development, and management of affordable housing project. And also this language must be located either in your bylaws, through a board resolution, or a written statement of operating procedure approved by your governing body. Next slide. Okay, and you also must do a neighborhood market assessment. And you have to conduct this to ensure that it's the unit and pricing is focused on demand. And you must provide the city with that documentation. Either we have a market study to show the demand and supply analysis, because you guys know your neighborhood better than we do, and you know the demand for your project. So you must have that information to us so we can review it. And like I said, does your area call for rental or home ownership? Like I said, you know your area, so you can make those assessments to us. And technical assistance. We do provide mandatory workshop for our new CHDOs. We will have a team building workshop, which is a fun way to get to know each other and what we're trying to accomplish. And we also have a very good housing development workshop, and this will include reviewing your HCD real estate application. We provide at least 2 to 3 training workshops per year. And if your CHDO need a specific technical assistant, such as board development, fundraising, or anything else, please let us know, and we will assist you in developing that training or workshop. Okay, next slide.
All right, so now we will talk about conflict of interest. Thank you, James. Basically, conflict of interest states that no persons, employee, agent, consultant, officer, board member, own receiving home funds can exercise or have exercised any functions or responsibilities with respect to activities assisted with home funds and who are in positions to participate in the decision-making process or gain inside information with regard to these activities may obtain a financial interest or benefit from home assisted activity, or have any interest in a contract, subcontract, or agreement. So in other words, let me break this down for everybody. This just basically says, okay, don't tell us, well, we're gonna build this nice house, and we wanna put, the executive director wants to put his brother in it. That's conflict. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't think about it. And don't tell us, oh, well, you know, he really needs this house. Well, we can give him other means or other organizations to work with, but we don't want any conflicts of interest, okay? So that's basically what that means in a nutshell. And now we go to our next slide. Speaking of no conflicts, which will be presented by the compliance department, Leanne Lawrence. So Leanne, tell us a little bit about compliance.
Hey everyone, so I'm part of the compliance team. We are a group of analysts and coordinators that assure that the appropriate federal requirements are applied to your project. And this is based on the scale and scope of your project. It's going to include the number of units that you're rehabbing or building, the funding amount for your project that HCD has put forward, and a myriad of other factors. The first one I'm going to start with is environmental review. For every federally funded program that HCD funds, an environmental review is required. Now, the level of environmental review and the depth and the time that takes will really depend on that scale and scope of your project. What is really important to note is that HCD cannot expend any funding towards your project until the environmental review is complete. And what that would look like is an environmental review report. And this is something that we coordinate internally at HCD, as well as work with a third party to ensure that report is complete. And this is also inclusive of historical cultural review, as well as Indian tribal consultation. Really important process, and it must be complete before we can expend funding towards your project. Section 3, economic opportunities, is another federal requirement. This is the requirement that I oversee directly. And what this is a federal requirement that mandates that any bidding, contracting opportunity, or employment opportunity that's generated by the project that we fund with federal money, that those opportunities be prioritized towards low-income people, low-income businesses, and businesses that hire low-income people. Each of our subrecipients that's funded through this process will need to demonstrate compliance with this through what we call an opportunity plan, and there's some monthly reporting that goes along with that. Our team conducts a project review of every project that HCD funds with federal funds, and we work with Twyla's group to ensure that every activity that you're putting forward in your funding application is indeed eligible under the federal guidelines. This includes that the people being served by your project are 80% or less the area median income for Memphis, and that your project, based on a series of criteria, meets what we call an affordability period. An affordability period is a number of years, usually spanning 15 to 20 years after construction, that housing unit must be affordable or remain affordable for the city of Memphis residents. Fair labor standards is another federal requirement that we enforce through all of our contracts. This can include the Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirement. This doesn't apply to every single project, but it does to projects that have 8 or more units. And the Davis-Bacon wage requirement requires that certain prevailing wages are paid to workers on the job. And this is something that we help our subrecipients with, as well as monitor throughout your project. Lastly, we ensure that every project has plans for construction that meet the American with Disabilities Act and Section 504 accessibility. It's really important that we at HCD review those plans to ensure that everything that's constructed with these federal funds remain accessible with people with disabilities. So here in our compliance department, we make sure that these federal guidelines are implemented, that they're understood by you, and that we're able to remain compliant with those federal requirements. And part of that is that we provide technical assistance here internally with our departments at HCD, as well as with you, once you become a funding recipient, to ensure that we can comply with those federal requirements over the life of your project. All right, so that's what I've got, and I'll pass it to the next person.
All right, so here we go. We have city's contract submission, insurance requirements on the certificate of insurance, or COI. The city of Memphis shall be named as additional insured on the certificate of insurance. The city of Memphis risk management department shall be listed as the certificate holder. Endorsement page for general liability, automobile liability, and workers' comp, if applicable. Effective and expiration dates of coverage must be listed on your COI. If you get to this this step in the process, when you submit your COIs, your submission date cannot be more than 30 days. And I know that's down there at the bottom, and we'll get back to that as well. But that's a bit of an important one, because once it goes through the execution process, they will send it back if it's close to 30 days or has gone beyond those 30 days. Signature of a company's representative. The NAC number must also be listed. Your NAC number will be can be found on the top right-hand side of the COI, and that's how you're identified in the system. So, and again, the date in the right-hand corner must be within 30 days. If you can get it as close to the date of submission as possible, that would be great, because these certificates of insurance can be a holdup in the contract process. Next slide. And if you all need a copy of a certificate of insurance just as a reference, let us know and we can get that out to you. Insurance requirements. The following insurances are required: general liability coverage. General aggregate must be at least $2 million. Automobile liability coverage. Workers' compensation when your staff consists of 5 or more employees. Also umbrella coverage. Umbrella coverage. Next slide. All right. Property addresses. Projects must be shovel ready. Operating and project budgets reflective of awarded funding, sources and uses. List all funding sources for the project along with its uses. Next slide. Right, reimbursement process. So this is how you get paid. So pay close attention. Administrative/project request, cover page, charter reimbursement forms, invoices, proof of payment. Analysts have a 2-day turnaround to process all requests. Each request is date stamped upon receipt. If documentation is missing and or something is incorrect, you will be contacted by your assigned analyst to resolve. We will return your we will not hold, if it's not something you can get right back to us, we will not hold your request. We will send it back to you, and you'll have to resubmit. If you have not received your reimbursement within 3 weeks, contact your assigned analyst. This process will be discussed more in detail during the Get Acquainted meeting. Next slide. All right, Tyria.
Okay. Continuing with the CHDO project process. Rehab/new construction project. Pre-construction meeting. Inspection process. The agency must contact your assigned analyst to request inspections on each project. Inspections conducted should consist of completed items. All change orders must be approved by your assigned analyst and HCD inspector. Qualified work is required. Random site visits are conducted by a nonprofit housing office. That means your analyst and or any other staff during your process of your rehab or your new construction. Contractor selection, do's and don'ts. Don't just use a contractor because someone told you your cousin did a good job on your uncle's house. Make sure you do your research and ask for references. Do take time to research contractor's background, not just an old picture he carries around in his pocket of a house he claims he built. Don't take anyone at their word, and the faster they talk, the faster you walk the other way. Do have a number or website for Better Business Bureau to use, but don't let it be the only reference. Go back a minimum of 5 years. If they don't have references, they don't get the job. Do background research of the contractors that you have that have a great portfolio. It may not be theirs. Do get more than one bid. The low bid is not always the winner. If the low bid isn't enough to do the job, it will cost extra to either complete the job or bring in another contractor to finish it. Don't use the same contractor continuously unless they continue to provide quality work at fair prices. Do make sure any change orders, if necessary, is priced fairly versus the work performed.
Okay. I will be briefly going over the application process itself, the application itself. And like I said, this is an online application, and you must submit it online. It's divided into different appendices. Appendix A is just a general definition of what a CHDO is and all the federal regulation regarding the definition of a CHDO. Appendix B will include your contact information, including your geographic boundaries, your legal status, your capacity, your organization structure, and any administrative audit and legal issues. Next slide. Okay, and Appendix C, you will talk about your staff development experience, your developer capacity and fiscal soundness. Appendix D, you will include your board of directors. Next slide. Okay. And these documents must be included in your online submission. Your charter or your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, your IRS tax exemption letter, your certificate of existence, and this must be within the last year, your organizational chart, and a map and description of your service area. Next slide. Next slide. And this is additional required forms. Your job description of your key staff who will work on the CHDO program, your most recent IRS Form 990, your recent auditor approved financial statement or audit, and staff resumes of relative people on this proposed CHDO project. Next slide. Okay, and when you submit the application, there will be a tab where you can attach these documents. It'll be a tab for Appendix D where you attach your board director table. Appendix E, you attach the certification of low income representation. And your Appendix F, you attach a certification of public officials like governmental employees if it's applicable. And Appendix G, you attach description of how you attain low income resident input. And Appendix H is a model input resolution, and the Appendix I is an annual operating budget for your organization, not for the project, but for your whole organization. Next slide. Okay, one good thing about this application is it will allow you to finish, save the document and finish later. But once you're in an application, you will see up top, if you want to finish later, you click on finish later, and you will receive an email from Toilet Guest saying that your document is ready to review. And once you click on ready to review, you will be put back exactly where you left off. So don't go back and click the original link, because this will prompt you to start the application process over again. Wait till you receive the email from us stating that it's time for you to review your application, and then you'll be put exactly where you left off so you can complete your application. Next slide.
Okay, thank you, James. So now you've heard all the wonderful information of what needs to happen and expectations, regulations of becoming a certified CHDO with the City of Memphis. So we do have the deadline date listed here, which is February 25th, 2022 by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, if you notice, we were so excited and we're looking so forward to getting the applications in. We gave extended time period. We didn't say 4 o'clock. We didn't say 5. We're giving everybody all that day to 11:59 p.m. to get your applications in. Also, remember, I saw a question in the chat that asked if we would be working with everyone to get the, make sure that you are meeting those requirements. And yes, we are. The next line here states that we are in partnership with you. Therefore, we are in this together. So we don't expect you to come to the table knowing all these regulations and knowing everything up front, but we are here to partner with you as a team. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact either Tyree or Jeff at the 901-636-4233 or via email, or James Thornton at 901-636-4227 or via email. The hours of operations are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. You can contact us at any time. If we are not there to answer the phone, leave us a message. We will get back with you because we are here to work together as a team. And now what we are going to have is a brief video presentation of some of our projects that we work with the CHDOs on. And also the last slide you just saw was pre-pandemic, when we also used to have a lot of our workshops. and training. You can see that we did have fun in our workshops, but we did learn a lot too. So next, Vanessa, if you can show that, and after the video, we will have Q&A. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Vanessa, for showing that video. And if you all notice at the end, it said to be continued, which means that we're looking forward to doing more affordable housing here in the city of Memphis. And we're glad that you all are on the call. So now we will open it up for Q&A. Okay, you can either unmute yourselves or you can put it in the chat. And then I know some people don't like to talk publicly. You may have another question. You can contact one of us and ask us after this.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, I was trying to see, what if you wanted to do affordable housing for a multi-unit complex in an apartment complex? How do you go about doing that?
Now we do at HCD have other programs as well related to affordable housing. The CHDO program is what we're presenting today, where we work with single family housing and also duplexes. Now we have done apartment complexes in the past. So I tell you what, take a look at that certification and see if that's something you're wanting to do as it relates to CHDO. If not, you can also look on the HCD page for real estate projects. And we have another program through our home program that deals with multifamily as well.
Yes, ma'am. What's the name of it again? I'm sorry.
The program is called Affordable Home Ownership and Rental Office. And it's on our website at memphisten.gov. Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, my name is Brenda Fetch, and I was wondering, is there a possibility for us to get a copy of the slides?
Yes, ma'am. We actually will have the slides posted on our website as well. The link has been placed in the chat, and you're welcome to view it then. Also, the presentation that we had here today is being recorded, so that will be on there also.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you'll also receive an evaluation, and the link will be on there too.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Twyla, we have a question in the chat and says, can you apply if you are a new nonprofit organization?
Okay, so you can apply, but let me just say this, for CHDO, you have to have at least 1 year of experience relative to housing, as well as showing that you've been working in your community. So then the question comes to mind, have you done housing before? So just take a look at the criteria, and that's listed also on that link, and just see if you would fit that criteria related to being a CHDO. Thank you, Tiffany.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Beverly Davis, the Greater Whitehaven community.
All right.
I'm interested in the presentation that you guys read off today. The little pieces, you know, what's required, what's entailed.
Mhm.
Is there any way to get that?
Yes, that will be located on our website. The link
Oh,
is
so
listed.
that's on the website too. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right,
Okay.
we have some questions rolling in the chat. Says, can the funds apply towards clearing owned land that has trees on the property?
Okay. Clearing owned land that has tree. Now, keep in mind that with these funds, what we're looking to do, we will pay for acquisition or reimburse for acquisition, for construction, and for rehab. So we will have to know exactly what you're planning on doing with that property, because that will be included if we're looking to put housing back on the property, not just clear the property for just to be clearing it. So yeah. Okay. What's the next one?
Right, is there a way to have an appointment with someone to determine which of the available programs are best suited to the skills and needs of our organization, this one or others?
Yes, it is. You can contact either Tyree or Jeff at 901-636-4233 or James Thornton at 901-636-4227, or even Tiffany Jackson at 901-636-4236. And they would be glad to assist you with that.
Right. And the last one, can we acquire a recorded copy of this presentation, which I believe you've already touched on?
Right. It'll be on the website.
Right. Says, does this program apply to supportive living homes for seniors? I have one, but as of now, I'm renting, but I would like to own the home now.
I tell you what, give us a call and let's talk about that a little bit more in detail, because we need to ask some more questions about that. So one of the numbers I just named, if you would please give us a call so we could get some more answers to that.
And I'll put that in the chat.
Okay. And while Tiffany's doing that, I see one that says what specific experience is required on staff resumes for CHDO. Specific experience would be inclusive of housing. Have you done any type of work relative to housing, development of housing? Have you acquired homes? Have you constructed any homes? Have you been a part of a development team relative to affordable housing? Also, community work. What have you done actually in the community? Have you done any events or sponsored anything? So include those things relative to your resumes. Let's see, let me go back up. Is there a maximum number of nonprofits that can be supported? We don't have a maximum number. We're just looking forward to seeing all the applications come in, and then we can go from there. We don't have a maximum number. We're just excited for this endeavor. The next one, let's see. Are there other funding sources to support nonprofit projects locally that you are aware of? Yes, there are quite a few. And so I won't continue to do all the talking. I will see if James or Tyree would like to respond to that relative to other funding sources. Actually, our division here has other sources relative to that. And we just had Skiff back about a month ago, a month or two ago, relative to programs. So James, would you like to answer that?
Yes, we have the SCIF process, and I think that due date is coming up soon, maybe the 2nd. But we also have funding for other housing development programs, which you can go to our website at the city of Memphis tn.gov and go under HCD and going under, I think it's funding opportunity, and you see the list of funding that we have for different projects. So, you know, total is just one of the funding that we have, but we have funding for other housing development.
Yes, my name is James Terrell. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have, excuse me, a two-part question with Seasoned Investment LLC. One of them is affordable housing has a broad definition. And so when you say affordable housing, specifically, what are you seeing in the context of this meaning? And two, the second part of the question is, under this particular program, are the housing type and design is of a certain type and a certain square footage, or what is it, for clarity purposes? If I want to embark on this particular, program under HUD.
Okay. Relative to affordable housing and the definition of that, we basically use the definition that our funder used, which is HUD. And the houses have to be affordable for low to moderate income families. And we do have a chart as well as a table that we go by relative to income and household size. And that would define, as far as affordable, that the house would have to be in that range where people can afford the house to either rent or purchase. Also, relative to housing designs, it depends on the neighborhood, because we don't want the house to stand out like a sore thumb or look like subsidized housing. So we want to make sure that house fits within that neighborhood. So we would look at the housing design that you're wanting to do, as well as our inspector, and go through it and look at the neighborhood as well. That will be a part of your market assessment when you work on that, to take a look at the neighborhood and say, okay, so let me see what type of house. I want to do a 2-story house, but then you look around, you see a single-story houses throughout the neighborhood. So actually that would not fit. So take a look at that, and then that's where we'll go from there relative to housing. And then we will, of course, meet with you and sit down with you and talk about it.
Okay. But, one other quick question. Do a nonprofit have to be a part of this particular program to participate in this type of community development, so to speak?
Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody, could you put yourselves on mute, please? Because I'm hearing a lot of feedback. I'm sorry, could you repeat your question again?
Yes. Do a nonprofit or a company have to be involved in this particular program to be involved in community development on the scale to, say, looking at affordable housing, and based on what you all's definition is, in order to do community development?
It actually is for nonprofit housing developers only, or a nonprofit organization that does have housing experience. So yes, it would have to be a nonprofit, either 501c3 or 501c4.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, thank you. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you. Any more questions? Let's see.
It's one that just came in the chat. Is, will HUD tenants' rights policies be activated, or will the URLTA ALTA be the default legal minimum for renter and landlord relationships?
Now, with the CHDO funds, as with federal funds, we ensure and have to make sure that all housing is fair. And then I see what you're talking about, because as tenants do have rights, as well as home buyers. So yeah, give us a call so we can talk about that a little bit more with you on that subject. But yeah, we do make sure that fair housing is involved and that everybody's being treated fairly.
And also, once you get to the point of actually having tenants in your project, in your houses, there are certain lists addendum and that protect the rights of the tenants, and also to be in compliance with the Violence Against Women's Act. So all those must be included in your lease agreement with your tenants.
Hi, my name is Denise Grice, and I have a question, please.
Okay.
All of my work has basically been rehabbing apartments, but I have done some rehab on homes. Does that make a difference?
No, ma'am, as long as you have experience dealing with housing,
Okay.
that would be great.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Yes, I have a question. My
Okay.
organization primarily doesn't deal with housing, but there's a great need for housing in the Orange Mountain area, for example. And I thought this was designed to help organizations that normally don't have experience in housing to come up to speed. I thought it was designed to help us come to the level where we can deal with housing. I'm concerned, experience in the community with collaborating with other organizations, but having that housing experience may deter some organizations that are very instrumental in the community and that will fight for equitable housing, but don't necessarily have the experience. So I'm just a little concerned that, I mean, you only still considering organizations that have housing experience, and many of us don't, but we still work very actively for the community to ensure that there is affordable, safe housing. So how do you overcome that?
Okay, that's a good question. Relative to that, and you're right, there are a lot of organizations that work with the key word, collaborate. Collaboration. If you're working with an organization, make sure you get that training under your belt relative to housing experience. With housing experience, that's something that HUD has created as a criteria for this program. So you do have to have some type of housing experience. So while you're working with other, say for instance, somebody that is doing housing, partner up with them, figure out what they're doing. That creates your experience for your organization as well. So just keep that in mind as you're working alongside somebody with a partnership. Just say, hey, okay, I would like to sit in on some of your pre-construction meetings. You know, I would like to know exactly what happens from A to Z with creating a house. So you can go ahead and start getting your feet wet in that.
So will the city also provide some type of training to ensure that applicants, I mean, as part of the application process, you know, I can see once you're selected that you provide training, but as part of the application process, if you're not an organization that deals with housing, what chance do you have to even to be considered? So you're saying that you have to partner with an organization that has experience in housing.
Now, I'm not saying that you do have to, but in order for you to get that experience, because you were saying that you partnered and you've been an advocate for housing, right?
Yes, when you're dealing with so much blight,
right,
one of the solutions is adequate housing. Whether you're dealing in arts or whatever you're dealing in, one of the solutions that will help you get there is alleviating blight and alleviating, for example, crime. So
right.
I'm just, you know, I don't know, I guess I would have to partner with an organization that has experience in housing. Otherwise, I would not be considered.
Twyla, I was going to just mention, Ms. Tate, if you want to reach out and give us a call, I'd love to just sit down and talk with you specifically about this, because it is a specific instance. I'm sure there are others on the call who don't have that housing experience. but are interested. But for this program, you do have to have that. I think, as Twyla was saying, the partnership option is a possibility if you don't have that direct experience. But please, I think Tiffany put the number in the chat, and so you can call them and just ask for me, and we'll get you to the right place. And I'd love to sit down and talk with you just about what some other options might be for your agency, if this one isn't the right one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any more questions? Okay. Well, all right. I think that sums it up. Thank you to everybody for participating on this morning and attending. Also, we'd like to say thank you to the CHDOs that we previously worked with and currently working with now for all the wonderful work that they've done. And may everybody have a great day. And we are looking forward to getting those applications in so that we can designate some more CHDOs and do some more affordable housing in the city of Memphis. May you all have a great day. Thank you.